Uh-oh. How's it going? I'm live, and I realize that I don't have any coffee in my hand, which makes me extremely nervous. Will you guys hold on 1 second while I go get some coffee? All right. It's not the coffee that makes me nervous. It's the lack of coffee that makes me nervous. Hope you understand. I hope you all just were talking amongst yourselves. Hey, Poppy Davis, how you doing? CB Unglesby. I don't know if I'm early or late. I can't remember. I'm not sure. Everything is all messed up now. I don't know what my schedule is. Hello from Scotland. Ainsley, how you doing? Was there a vote or something? Did I miss something about Scotland? I heard that there was a vote in the UK. Did I completely miss an entire news item? Is Scotland voting to go independent? Didn't they already do that? I thought they did that and then they voted to remain or something like that. Anyways, greetings, guys. Come on in. The weather is fine. The weather is quite balmy in Los Angeles, even though I'm wearing this hat as if it's cold. It's not really cold. UK left the EU. Yes, they did. Has anybody watched Jonathan Pye's video called Hard Brexit? It's pretty hilarious. I'm a big fan of Jonathan Pye. So yeah, let's get into some. I missed an extreme weather news event, I guess, yesterday. There was also an extreme rain event in British Columbia, I guess Sunday. British Columbia exceeds what rain from a single storm in BC exceeds what most Canadians see in a year. This was on Sunday. BC's recent rainfall caused flooding, mudslides, a state of emergency, and has exceeded the amount of rain most Canadians see in 1 year. Again, due to the thing called the atmospheric river, which has become like a common event or phrase, if you will, in meteorology, something you didn't really hear of much about prior to 2 or 3 years ago. Let me see. Vancouver Island recorded more rain than the total amount that Fredericton, London, Ottawa, and Toronto each normally accumulate in a given year. Halifax, you're safe this round, as regions in Nova Scotia are the rainiest locations in the east and generally receive over 1,200 millimeters of rain per year. That's a lot of rain, you know. I don't know. That was a really bad Canadian accent. That's a lot of rain, eh? Dana Patterson, hello from Vancouver Island. So did you see the rain? Did you feel the rain? Did you get the rain? Did you swim in the rain? What'd you do? What happened? 3 young men died here in the storm. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. That is a serious storm. Good Lord. That is crazy. Yeah, this just came up on my timeline. And I just missed it. That is a phenomenal amount of rain. Wow. So severe weather events taking lives. Once again, Henry Holt, how are you doing? D Ranch. Diana says Europe had its warmest January on record. I just read that news article yesterday. They did. Not good. Not a good trend, but one that we all see as likely. Ainsley Wilkie says, I've never met anyone who voted to remain. Okay. Brexit happened? Yes. It did happen. You've never met anyone who voted to remain. Wow. But I thought, the Remainers were like the liberals here in the States, and they're, which is the liberals here in the United States all think that everybody thinks like them or should think like them, and anybody who doesn't think like them is a lunatic. I don't know. And maybe they're all right. I don't know. But if you've seen Jonathan Pye's video on hard Brexit, it's pretty hilarious, but also shows the state of, I don't know, cultural, whatever you might want to call it, cultural correctness in the UK, which seems to be like slightly more turned up one more notch from what it is in the US. But it's a thing. It is a thing. Human says, how about the methane dragon coming soon? Lex Green says, biggest thing people miss on rain is the nutrients it puts into the water and effects thereof. Dana Patterson says lots of forging out of town hit the mainland even harder. 2 massive landslides that took out internet to thousands of people and stranded a bunch at a ski resort. That is wild. Very little news on that did I see on that whole situation. That is pretty intense. And I'm sorry to hear about the young men that lost their lives. Human says UK will be buying American now. Wasn't that the big plan? I don't know. Maybe some people think it is. Donald McCarthy says Storm Ciara battering Ireland on election day. Change gonna come. Donald, what are the elections for or about in Ireland today? I have no idea. Are they just general elections, local elections? Can you give us some kind of news on that? William Moy, how you doing? Salt Lakers. American dildos. Steely Dan's. I'm assuming that Steely Dan's are American. Going south. Says for the first time, Iowa says they'll return the full count on leap year day, February 29th. Yeah. Dana Patterson, my son knew one of them. They were all 20, 21 years old. Man. That is tragic. I'm sorry. So, yeah, quite a weather event indeed happening in Canada. I wanted to move on to. Let's move on to this article about polar bears in the Arctic. Scientist says we know they aren't feeding. This is from The Guardian. This is actually from a while ago, September 29th. So not new news, but fairly recent news. Loss of Arctic from glaciers. Polar land and sea is increasing faster than many scientists expected. Yes. As the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change's report on oceans and cryosphere said this week. Bad news for polar bear populations. The top expert involved in the field studies on the endangered animals has told The Guardian this year's annual minimum of the Arctic sea ice tied with the second lowest extent on record. Mere 1.6 million square miles in badly affected polar bear populations that live and hunt on the north slope of Alaska, plus those that live on the ice floes in the Bering Sea. Now the ice has gone way offshore. We know that the bears aren't feeding. The bears that are forced on the land don't find much to eat. The longer the sea ice is gone from the protected zone, the tougher it is on the bears. This is something that is well documented that we've been talking about on this channel for quite a while. I mean, all animal life is threatened or in danger in some way, shape, or form. And some human life is threatened in some way, shape, or form, and very soon a lot of human life is going to be threatened in some way, shape, or form. I got this article from the Environmental Coffee House Facebook page. Pretty sure this is from thegeorgiastraight.com. RCMP prepares to crack down on Wet'suwet'en Nation as bottom falls out of LNG market in Asia. Wow. So this is from February 5th. I don't know if this is related to the coronavirus at all, or if this is just a separate thing. The LNG market, or the liquid natural gas market in Asia, has seen a dip. And this has repercussions on the American continent. It warns that there is a warning here that this article is very long. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to give you a few highlights. There may not be a peaceful conclusion to the ongoing dispute over the Coastal GasLink pipeline in British Columbia. If anybody's familiar with what has been going on with the Wet'suwet'en Nation, there's been a long standoff with the Canadian government. And Coastal GasLink is the company that's trying to build a pipeline. They do not want this pipeline on their lands. There may not be a peaceful conclusion. That's because Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs didn't reach agreement with the BC government in their 11th hour talks to de-escalate the conflict over the $6.6 billion mega project. While we were not successful in finding a resolution to the current situation, we continue to remain open to dialogue with the Wet'suwet'en leadership on this issue. Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation Minister Scott Fraser said in a February 4th statement, "We hope that the paramount need for safety stays the top priority for all parties." The hereditary chiefs are from the 5 Wet'suwet'en Nation clans: Gilsayu, Laksiliu, Sayu, Lakamshu, and Gitmunden. Sorry if I just completely tore those apart. They said they're sick and tired of the provincial and Federal government's preferring to talk to people who will say yes to them rather than the group of chiefs who won a landmark victory in the Supreme Court of Canada in 1997. That is a while ago. 2 decades ago. The Delgamuukw ruling established the existence of the Aboriginal title over portions of 58,000 square kilometers in north central British Columbia. We have to stand up for our traditional territories. And people have to do that everywhere they can on this planet right now. If at all possible, we have to stand up to the ever-growing maw of industrial society. If it's at all possible, it seems like a losing battle. It seems like a losing battle everywhere you look. I just saw an article about Nicaraguan Indigenous being killed. Let me see if I can find that article. If anybody has that article, please drop it on me. Oh, here it is. 7 days ago, 6 Indigenous people, this is from the BBC, 6 Indigenous reportedly killed in attack. Armed men have attacked an Indigenous community in Nicaragua, killing at least 6 people and kidnapping another 10. So the attack on the Mayangna group took place in a protected nature reserve in the north of the country. The Basawaz Biosphere Reserve has been the focus of land disputes between indigenous groups and new settlers. The Mayanya leader last year accused the government of doing nothing while his community was gradually exterminated. So sorry, just reading this a little bit. This is a land conflict. They want our lands for cattle farming and to destroy our forests. Forest protectors, land protectors, water protectors all over the planet are being killed, kidnapped, forced out of their homes, litigated against, put asunder, and I don't know how we're going to see an end to this. I want an end to it, and I want to know how we can stop this, the state-sanctioned, capitalism-sanctioned violence. And that's kind of the purpose of the title of this video. Can we change the state of the state? The state of the state is that the state always inflicts violence. The state inflicts violence in its pursuit of power or support of its own power, and that is what it really always comes down to. And who was it that said, when you pull away the curtains from the free society, you will see the brick wall of fascism right behind them? I think it was Lenny Bruce, which is that we're really not, you know, the the idea of freedom is just an illusion, because if you really test the authority of the state, or if you really ask for the state to stop doing what it's doing, or try to change, you know, try and fix the state, or redirect the state from doing what it does, which is inflict violence, you are met with violence or serious resistance. Dana Patterson says we need to shut down Mordor in northern Alberta. Hear, hear. D-Truth, can you start over? How you doing? The dude. Dana Patterson says, BC does not want this pipeline. The federal government is overriding it. Yes, they are. You know, the kinder, softer, liberal leader, Justin Trudeau, is just stomping all over Indigenous rights. Robert Arajo says, Trudeau makes me embarrassed to say I'm Canadian. Yes, the butterfly. Oh, yes, the butterfly protectors in Mexico. Man, thanks. Lex Green, thank you. Let's go to that story. It's wall to wall, and maybe that's just the times and the technology that we live with or in. But there are wall to wall stories about climate destruction, habitat destruction, climate change. Going forward, and then the people who are trying to do anything or something about this are being silenced, being killed. And you know, if you're a wildlife protector in South America, it's rough business. You are truly a revolutionary if you are a climate protector a wildlife protector or forest protector or water protector in South America, because people are routinely outright killed. Not put in jail, not, made to go away, not to made to feel bad, and not, not ignored. No, they're killed. Sadness and worry after 2 men connected to Butterfly Sanctuary are found dead. Each winter, millions of monarch butterflies make their home in El Rosario Reserve in Mexico, one of the best places in the world to see them. This week, the sanctuary is mourning for 2 of its protectors. 2 men connected to the Butterfly Reserve have been found dead in the span of a week, showing the danger that conservationists sometimes face in a country where protecting the environment can mean encountering hostility and violence from gangs and business interests. The body of environmental activist Homero Gomez Gonzalez was found last week, 2 weeks after he had gone missing. His body was recovered at the bottom of a holding pond in an agricultural area. Prosecutors in Michoacan said an autopsy found that the cause of death was mechanical asphyxiation by drowning of a person with head trauma. It does not appear to have been a robbery. On Saturday, prosecutors said they opened an investigation after a second man reported missing was found dead. Raul Hernandez Romero, who had worked as a tour guide in the preserve, his wife reported that he'd gone missing last Monday. His body was found bruised, his head showing trauma from a sharp object. Authorities have not said whether the deaths are connected. Wow. Gomez Gonzalez was one of the Butterfly's strongest advocates, a former local commissioner. He was among the leaders who argued that tourism was a more reliable economic strategy for the rural community than logging. The Associated Press reports he went on to become manager of the El Rosario Sanctuary, fighting illegal logging and advocating for the replanting of trees that provide the monarch's habitat. Yeah. Is it possible that, in our lifetimes or in the future that is very, very important in the course of history or what history we may have left, that we can change the state of the state, that we can change the state from, one of outright violence and destruction, economic, environmental, etc., to one of, on some level, at least compassion. I don't know. I think, people are trying. CB Unglesby says Bernie. Indeed, Bernie is, one head or one part of the push for people trying to actually change the state of the state. Bernie declared victory. Well, of course he did. He won. They asked him. They're talking about these state delegate, whatever they are. They don't mean anything. They have nothing to do with the actual presidential race or nomination. They don't mean anything. They're trying to make it sound like it means that, they both got the same amount of delegates, but Bernie won the popular vote, and there you go. He won the popular vote. Going south, power is like Tolkien's ring, indeed, precious. Salt Laker says art kills fascists. Yes, indeed. Salt Laker's art is revolt. Yes, indeed. Salt Laker's art, butterflies. More butterflies. Monarch. Yes, indeed. George Saccoclides says, where's the revolution? Working on it, making it happen. And the evidence that, there's corruption is just overflowing and in your face, naked, just for all to see that the corruption is obvious. I think that allows for people to start working outside of the system because, I just commented today on somebody's post about Bernie. Bernie, from what we've seen in the last election and what we are seeing in the very first primary, I mean, at this point, Bernie has every right to jump out of the Democratic Party and run independent and let everybody scream bloody murder if they want. But, he has the right to, because it looks like they're trying to they're trying to play games, and it's just so obvious. And so there's no reason to shame people into like, oh, he has to run within the Democratic Party or stay true to the Democratic Party, or Democrats have to vote for, blue no matter who, or vote for whoever gets the nomination because Trump is bad. You think Trump is bad, but you don't think the people that are trying to screw Bernie are bad. That's your problem, is that you have no moral compass. Your moral compass is completely warped. You think Hillary Clinton is okay. If you think that's okay, your moral compass is completely off. They're just degrees of corruption, Trump and Hillary. So, if you really want to actually change the government, for the good of the people, or have the government be a force of good for the people and not a tool or instrument of corruption for the capitalists, you're going to have to do something obvious, and you're going to have to run up against the resistance. That's why, you can tell who is actually authentically against the corruption of the government by seeing who the government is trying to screw over, right? The people that the powers that be are trying to disenfranchise are the ones that are carrying the torch for freedom, human rights, the good of the people, the good of the earth, the good of the planet. I just watched a speech with Bernie Sanders the other night, and he said, he started the speech with, something like a typical campaign campaign talking point, but then he went right into climate change. He went straight into climate change. He's like, look, this is a problem. We need to, we need to worry about this right now. I mean, whether we have time or not, that's up for debate, but he went straight to climate change. So this is a person who is in touch with reality, or at least more in touch with reality than, most. Scott Andrews, Bernie should have left the Democratic Party years ago, indeed. Rich Diana says, Dana, there's a revolt worldwide due to falling standard of living. Indeed. People are sick and tired of the games. They're sick and tired of the of being told how to live and how to fit into this culture and the society, and not, and getting shafted at every turn, having their incomes and their pensions and their services and their rights to live, having their standard of living eroding year after year after year. Climate Marcher John J, hello, newcomer to your channel. Looks like my kind of people. Welcome. Thank you for talking about the butterfly sanctuary murder. Very few are doing it. And thank you to the intrepid commenter who brought that back to my attention. I was looking at that earlier this week, and again, there's just so much going on. I compile stories, and then like 3 days later, they're all buried under more stories, and they're buried under more stories, and they're buried under more stories. I literally could do this probably 5 hours a day and still not run out of things to talk about or things to discuss. Echoes of Not, it's 1984, but the capitalists have won. Salt Laker says Bernie needs to change his tune on overthrowing foreign governments. For the most part, he's, it's a mixed bag. Somebody actually brought up the point the other day on another channel, and I have said this same thing. I think Bernie kind of gives lip service to some of the, the international affairs that are going on. But for the most, I mean, he called the coup in Bolivia a coup. He said this is, he called it out for what it is. He said it wasn't right, and he fully acknowledged that we're behind it. I think that's something. He's a little bit of a mixed bag, but I don't know if he really truly believes these things, or if he's just kind of playing along a little bit just because he doesn't want to, It's hard to say. It's hard to be, you have to walk a fine line when everything that you say can be, turned up to 11 in the media or on social media, and, misconstrued and misinterpreted and turned into a weapon to, to take you out. I mean, he's got to be under a lot of stress. I can't even imagine the kind of stress that Bernie's under right now. He's just being himself, but at the same time, you kind of have to you have to really watch what you say, and, watch what, the things that you put your support behind, and, etc. Prudhomme, welcome. Thank you so much, Climate Marcher. Appreciate you. Prudhomme, wait, is this this is not even this isn't even a real story. Trump has agreed to give Alaska to Putin. Is that a joke? That's got to be a joke. I've seen that twice in the last couple of days, and I feel like it's melting my brain a little bit. Scott Andrews, until Americans get off the couch, nothing will change. We'll see whether some real resistance starts happening in this election cycle, because I believe that, it looks already like the DNC is fully prepared to screw Bernie out of the nomination if they can in any way do this. And if they do that, it was one thing to have that happen in 2016. I think to have that happen twice, I think would, I for one would be all for getting, I would be incensed and I'd be pissed. Oh, Proudhon, that's right. Thank you. It's what Schiff said. Schiff is an idiot. I'm sorry. That is hilarious. You told me that, and I was like, I'm going to try and find a clip of it. And I still haven't found a clip of it, but I will look for it. Russiagate, gotta love it. CB Unglesby says, being a Vermonter, originally Bernie got a true kind heart, just a great person. He's authentic. I mean, like he says what he thinks. He doesn't, I mean, he's still a politician, and you can't just blab anything out of your mouth. But I think he's not Machiavellian in his political aspirations. He's completely, he's completely moved the entire Democratic Party to the left in the space of 4 years, or at least they give lip service to going to the left. But he's completely changed the bar at which people expect the Democratic Party or what they should stand for. He's blown the cover off the fact that the Democratic Party is a corrupt, elite organization, that has ties to the mainstream media and the deep state, and they have become the evil octopus, the Democratic Party. So, and the fact that Bernie is trying to change that causes them no lack of ire. DNC is totally up to no good. Yeah. I mean, it's so obvious. It's so obvious. Oh, the Duran channel. Okay. Oh, thank you, Proudhon. I'm sorry. I don't, it's hard for me to, when I comment for about 5 minutes, and then I don't ever look at them again until the next day. Thank you. I will dig that up, and maybe I'll post that somewhere. So ridiculous. Climate Marcher, BBN has a Twitter, Black Bear News 1, at Black Bear News, the number 1 on Twitter. I actually used to have Black Bear News, but Twitter, completely, they for some reason, they didn't like my Twitter account, and they completely, deaded it. They wouldn't let me ever log into it, and so there was no way for me to access it again. So I had to recreate another Twitter account, but that's where you can find me, Twitter, for now. There's a Black Bear News website out there, but I don't actually have control over it. I don't really do much with it. So, I mean, I do have control over it. I just don't do anything with it. Challenge him to a coin toss. That's, ooh, yeah. So Bernie Sanders has lost 9 coin tosses in a row. How is that even possible? TCR, what's up? Yeah, if you guys saw video of the coin tosses that Buttigieg won in the Iowa caucus, you will be highly amused. Anyways. And moving on to the discussion at hand, I guess. This is from February 4th. It's time for the left to build a force outside the Democratic Party. something that Chris Hedges has been saying for a long time, something that Noam Chomsky has been saying for a long time. The left is definitely rising up, coalescing, going more left, getting a little more radical, exposing the elites that run the Democratic Party for what they are, and calling it what it is. And, the elites and the oligarchs that run our entire political system. People are trying to build a different kind of movement that's, inclusive and on the side of the people and the planet. And we still have a long way to go. A long way to go. Henry Holt says Bernie's Bootleg is a great channel if you like jazz and blues. Far too much time tossing, yes. I mean, if people really want to see a change in the organization of society, or in the organization of how it is that we conduct ourselves, it's really just incumbent on us to start building those systems and getting that up and running so that we can kind of take over for some real change. Oh, and after the Iowa fiasco, so since we always end up back on talking about Bernie in general, so Pete Buttigieg has been running a victory lap for 3 days, and now Bernie Sanders came out today and said, "Nah, I won." Like, he won the popular vote. They each got equal amount of delegates. There's been so much funny business, and it's just ridiculous. So, I'm hoping that this stuff that happened with Buttigieg actually hurts him more than it helps him. It seemed to have helped him at first, but I think if enough people get, there is some power. There's power in social media. There's power in the internet, because if people get vocal enough, if you get out there and just say no thank you, loudly enough, it kind of becomes this. You push back the manufactured consent or manufactured narrative of the media. You can push back against it. You just got to push back. Thoughts on the Green Party, Poppy Davis? I voted for Jill Stein last election because I just could not stomach Trump or Clinton. And I have to tell you, I haven't really followed I know that Jill Stein is not the nominee for the Green Party, or the candidate. Is Ajamu the candidate, or who is the presidential candidate for the Green Party in 2020? Does anybody know? Anybody? Oh, are they going through a nominating process too? Is that what's happening? It looks like there's a few people vying for the presidential. Okay, hold on. They won't be selecting their presidential nominee until the July of 2020. Wow. Okay. Um, there are quite a few people seeking the nomination of the Green Party. Sednam Moyawaziza, Howie Hawkins, Dario Hunter, Dennis Lambert, David Rold, Ian Schlackman, and Chad Wilson. And I'm not familiar with any of those people. I mean, I like the Green Party. They're pretty weak in the U.S. Although they did garner like 1% of the vote in the last election. And because of the chicanery of the Democratic Party and the fact that people were so disgusted, the Green Party actually got quite a lot of visibility because of it. Jill Stein was, pretty much a household name in the last election because people were like, "I'm out. I'm gonna go vote Green Party," and Jill Stein actually started, became kind of a figure in the whole election process. They had some recount, stuff going on in Michigan, and Jill Stein was behind that. Jill Stein is a pretty on it politician, person, woman. And I also follow the vice presidential nominee for the Green Party was Ajamu Baraka, who I follow his Twitter account, and it's pretty much amazing stuff all day long. If anybody follows his Twitter account, I highly suggest it. I mean, he's it's pretty much gold. Like, he's got just great things to say all day long about the state of the politics in the U.S., state of the global politic, etc. All right, guys, we kind of talked about many things far and wide. Human, Dr. Jill Stein, Green State of the Union 2020, Empire Rebellion. Yeah, I really enjoy listening to her talk. And she's got some really good information about some entities that are controlling our narrative. She was recently on, was it Jimmy Dore? I think it was. Really great interview. Poppy Davis says, everyone said Bernie couldn't win. Same thing with the Green Party. They can win if you have the guts to vote for them. Well, I really enjoyed voting for Green last time. I would vote for them again. I think though that we have a viable and connected candidate in Bernie Sanders. Not connected to the elites, but connected to the people and connected to his own, vision of the world and his agency in the world. And I think that Bernie could be a transformative candidate and a transformative president. And he is closer than anyone else out there to being able to get the nomination and beat Trump and to be that transformative president. As much as I love the Green Party, and I actually vote Green in local elections if I can. If there's a Green Party representative on a ticket for a local election, I will generally vote Green. But as far as a presidential race, I don't think that the Greens have any chance whatsoever. Not right now. I'm not saying that they can't have a chance in the future. but it's very difficult. It's a very uphill battle, just to be realistic. Exactly, Tom Mallard. Well, I was just about to say, Bernie had an invitation to run on the Green Party ticket in 2016. Had he done that, I think he could have won. I think he could have raised, that was a brilliant move on the part of Jill Stein, and a brilliant invitation to Bernie, and that could have been, again, the death of the two-party system as we know it. CB Unglesby says supply chain is going to move like a worm. Shipping has dropped over 40% as of yesterday. I wonder why. Is that coronavirus related? Is that something else? Economic related? Hey, Basil. How you doing? I'm just about to actually close this out, but welcome and good to see you. Coronavirus, global dimming. Green local is the way to go. Exactly. I mean, if we can get, start to get Greens in local office, that can still be just as transformative. Green Party is much bigger in Europe. Yeah, indeed. They have way more visibility in Europe. But Europe also, many European countries have systems that allow for more than two parties in government. Exactly. Power never cedes power willingly. Nope. It must be forced, it must be stood up against, it must be resisted. That is the only way that power ever cedes anything. You can't just ask them nicely. You got to get up in the face of power. Global oil demand down by 3 million barrels per day, and that's due to China. Huh. All right. Well, I'm going to go check that out. Guys, I got to jump off this. I've got to get to some other responsibilities of my day. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Basil, for being here. I know you came in late. Have fun cleaning the solar panels. Coronavirus-induced depression? Maybe. I mean, why not? Could this be the Black Swan event? That Black Swan was a word people like to talk about a few years ago. The Black Swan event. Maybe. Huh. Possibly. This is a good time for a global depression right before the presidential election. Stock market nosedives. Welcome, Bernie Sanders. You're the president. Now deal with it. Okay. Thanks all. Have a good day. Peace out. See you next time.